Savahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavad Pada Shankaram Yoga Shankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutrabhashya Kritam Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah. Hari Om. So, today what we have is page number 18, second paragraph, Adhyase Vadi Vipratipattayaha. It's a very huge topic. In the matter of Adhyasa, there are certain marginal what Bhashyakara is going to say, sir, you may have all your subjective differences, but one thing is pakka. You all accept that there can be a mistake. How the Radhu Sarpa is seen, you can come up with different theories. But you all accept that Radhu Sarpa is an error. How does that error take place? You have different theories. Some say the quality of the snake is imposed on the Naunda rope. Not the snake is imposed, but the quality of the snake is imposed on the Naunda rope. And they imagine that quality is somewhere, etc., etc. We will see all that, a little bit of, boredom you may have to go through. Pale mein bata raha hu. Don't complain afterwards. Because there are certain, they are very interesting provided you can follow it. And these details, hair-splitting details, supposing you don't follow, then they can be very, 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 very tiring. They can be very interesting, and also they will be useful sometime in understanding. There is no analysis which doesn't play a role in your understanding of the truth. Somewhere. Like every step helps you in reaching. Even the distant steps have helped you. Distant steps means, you begin from Delhi to march to Rishikesh. Even the steps that you take in Delhi have helped you in reaching Rishikesh. Every step helps you. Similarly, every little clarification, every little thing, it only matures you as a grasper of the truth. इसमें कोई doubt नहीं. Therefore, never think we are wasting time with the details. No. They are all related details, related to the truth, related to understanding the truth. The unrelated details is a waste of time. The unrelated details. Analyzing. Unrelated details. कल आप सागर क्यों नहीं गए लंच के लिए? ये क्या है? ये क्लास में, वेदांत क्लास में analyzing how and why you did not go to Saga yesterday. What a big question to deal with. These are all meaningless. Ignore. There is a lot to know. But these details are good. Now I am going to tell, even though I gave when we saw the Moolam, I gave you 5 kyatis. You know, pancha kyatis. Pancha kyatis means, 5 definitions of an era. Kyati panchaka. I hope you have written down. If you have not written down, it doesn't matter. They are called Atma Khyati, Asat Khyati, Akhyati, Anyatha Khyati and Anirvachaniya Khyati. Don't worry about this Khyati Panchakam. Here, Shankaracharya gives only 3 definitions of 3 opinions about the era. 3 definitions of Adhyasa. Bhashikara has not given 5 definitions of Adhyasa here. But I would like to give you what is exactly important for you to remember. For every Vedanti must remember this. Whoever he is must know these 3 things called. What does Mimamsaka say? What does Shunyavadi say? And what does Vedanta say? These are the 3. What does a Nayayika say? What does a Vaiseshika say? What does a Kshanika Vijnani say? And all these things are unimportant. The real Vadis in Vedanta is Shunyavadi and Mimamsa. Karma Kanda and Shunyavadi. You dismiss these 2, you have caught hold of Vedanta. You dismiss Mimamsa. Mimamsa means Karma Mimamsaka. And you dismiss Shunyavadi. You have matured in reflection. Tremendous grasp you can gain by refuting these truths. Just not believing that they are wrong, seeing that they are wrong. Mimamsaka says, Mimamsaka talks about Akhyati, means there is no error at all. Mimamsaka says there is no error. Why? Because Atma is both the subject and the object. That it is the subject is true, that it is also object is the truth. It so happens. Mimamsaka says, it so happens. An object is only an object, whereas the subject is both the subject and object. I am the seer and I am also available for, say there I am aham pratyaya vishayi. I am also aham pratyaya vishaya. I am the subject of I thought. The I is, the Atma, the Jivatma is, the Atma is the subject of I thought and also the object of I thought. Technically it is aham pratyaya vishayi and it is also aham pratyaya vishaya. So if it is that I can look at myself is a fact about me. That I can touch myself is a fact about me. That I can hear me is a fact about me, not an error about me. My objectifiability to myself is a fact about me, not an error. So that I am the subject, I am also the object. Kartru karma bhava. Kartru karma bhava. I am the kartru, karta. I am also karma, the object. The Atma enjoys kartru karma bhava. It is aham pratyaya vishayi. It is also aham pratyaya vishaya. It is both vishayi and vishaya. Therefore, its being vishaya is not an error. Its being vishaya also is a reality about itself. So there is no error. Mimamsaka, Karmakanda doesn't say that. Mimamsa, a school based on Karmakanda. Karma Mimamsakas always say there is no error. Life is not adhyasa. Why? Atma's being, our being the subject is true about ourselves. And our being the object also is true about ourselves. There is the error. What about Rajju Sarpa? We are not interested in Rajju Sarpa Adhyasa because you are giving this Rajju Sarpa Adhyasa as a drishtantam for Atma Anatma Adhyasa. When there is no Atma Anatma Adhyasa, why go into Rajju Sarpa Adhyasa? Kya karna usko? So the Mimamsaka says, we don't want to waste our time. In the meantime, we can do some karma so that we can get some phalam. Yes. You say, why waste time with the ritual? Let us do some vichara. They say, why waste time with this vichara? Let us do some karma so that we can build up phalam. Let us do some ritual or the other so that it keeps building up some sukham for you. Thus, karma mimamsakas do not believe any error. Understand this. It is a... In fact, when you refute karma mimamsakas, you have almost really done a lot of covering in understanding Vedanta. Nothing can be subject-object relation, they are opposed. What is subject can never be an object. And what is objectified can never be the subject. If one understands this very, very contemplatively, the subject, the one, if the one who is aware, if he becomes an object, then he ceases to be the subject. Without ceasing to be the subject, how can he become an object? If he ceases to be the subject, then he cannot even know the object. He cannot know the object. That means object also cannot be proved. Therefore, when I am the subject, I am not the object. When I am the object, I am not the subject. Maybe you become alternately. Now you are subject, now you are object. No, that is also not possible. Why? What is subject is ever the subject. What is object is ever the object. These 2 points must become very clear. Subject cannot be an object. Because viruddha dharma, light and darkness cannot abide in the same thing. The same thing cannot be both luminous and dark. So, while refuting the Mimamsaka, the 2 points you have to remember is, I am repeating, subject and object have to be different. What is subject the one who is aware cannot be an object, and an object cannot be aware. Maybe they can be now subject, now object alternately. No. What is subject for ever. इसको अच्छी तरह से मनन करना चाहिए. And that reality is within anubhava. You don't infer it. You don't logically conclude it. You see it. Because you are the subject. You can never be. You may equate yourself with the object, but you can't be. You can't be the object. Dekho ji. You can't be the object. See the depth of your being. See the depth. You can never be the object. Your status as the subject continues to be. Even when you think I am the object, you don't become the object. There can be only adhyasa with the object, not becoming the object. This is Mimamsaka. Mimamsaka doesn't accept any adhyasa. When you refute Mimamsaka, you establish that life is adhyasa. When you refute Mimamsaka, you establish that life is adhyasa. Dehoham is adhyasa. This is one thing. The second thing is, Shunyavadi says, we need to refute Shunya. Shunyavadi talks about asatkyati. Asatkyati means not only what we impose is non-existent, where you impose it also is non-existent. That is called asatkyati. बहुत बड़ी बात है. It's non-existent. Nowhere there. If you say Sarpa is imposed on the rope, talking about the Drishtantam, Shunyavadi says the Sarpa is imposed on the rope. The rope is ultimately imposed on Shunya. The rope is the object, is imposed on Shunya. So, if you say Deha is imposed on Atma, then Atma is imposed on Shunya. The great logic that Bhashyakara gives, that the error must presuppose a reality. The error must presuppose a reality. Adhyasa must presuppose adhishthanam, a reality. Shunyavadis don't accept. Because anything that you think of is imposed on something, and ultimately there is Shunya. Whatever you see is imposed on something, and that something is imposed on something, and that something is imposed on something, and the ultimate is Shunya. Ultimate is Shunya. The great logic, the great, very important logic that Bhashyakara gives is that every error must presuppose a fact. For a Shunyavadi, not only adhyastha is Shunyam, adhishthanam also is Shunyam. Nowhere it is present. It is not there where you see, it is also not there elsewhere. That is called Shunyam. It's not there. It's not there where you see. The snake is not there where you see, and it is also not there elsewhere. Rope is not there where you see, and it is also not there elsewhere. Meaning what? Shunya. And by refuting the Mimamsaka, we establish that there is a adhyasa. By refuting Shunyavada, we accept, we establish the presence of a reality behind every error. Behind every appearance there has to be a reality. If you say snake is an appearance, then there is a rope behind it which is a reality. If you insist that rope also is an appearance, I say there is a Brahman as the reality. If you say Brahman also is an appearance, there has to be a reality. This is all called, temporal reality. They are all called realities, but they continue to be appearances. But what is literally a reality cannot be an appearance. Very important thing, I am going to tell. Snake is an appearance, implies rope as a reality behind it. If rope is an appearance, we are talking about the appearance of the whole universe. If we are talking about rope as an appearance, then we are talking about the whole universe as an appearance. Because the rope is part of the universe. Rope stands for the whole Jagat. If rope is false, then the whole Jagat is false. We don't have to get into this dividing logic, Rope is made of some particles, and particles are made of something smaller and smaller, like this. You don't have to unnecessarily dig into matter. If one detail of Ishvara Srishti, if one bit of matter is appearance, we are talking about the appearance of whole universe. That should have a reality, and that reality should not be another appearance, because once we say the universe, that is exhaustively the appearance. There is no appearance in addition to this appearance. Are you able to follow? The totality of appearance. The totality of the appearance cannot be an adhyastha in another reality which is also an appearance, because we have already taken into account the totality of the appearance, and the totality of the appearance cannot be an appearance in a reality which is also an appearance. That will be very, 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 it will be very wrong. The totality of the appearance must have a reality of the totality. The totality of the appearance must have a reality which is totality, the total, the whole, and that should not be an appearance. It should be there. It should not be shunyam. So the Shunyavadi, by refuting the Shunyavadi, we established the Adhishthana. Only three things. And Vedanta, what remains is Vedanta. After refuting the Mimamsaka and the Shunyavadi, what remains is Vedanta. The one who refutes both is a Vedanti. He says, life is indeed an error about the truth, adhyasa about the truth. Nor there is adhyasa about Shunya. Everything is adhyasa in Brahma, in Brahmavada, in Atmavada. Whereas a Shunyavadi comes up with Shunyavada. Shunyavadi comes up with Shunyavada. Vedanta is Brahmavada. Even though we use the word Vada, it is not a Vada. And whereas Karma Mimamsaka comes up with Karmavada. Karmavada, Brahmavada, Shunyavada, only these three things. If you just dwell on these three words, you will get a lot of prasadam. What about these other Nyaya, Vaisesha? They don't count. They don't count. Even Kshaniki Vijnanavadis, they don't count. Kshaniki Vijnani also is important to dismiss, because, let me explain if you can follow it. It is important to refute Shunyavada, because Shunyavada is a popular thinking also. When I die, nothing remains. I crop up from nothing and go on to nothing. That means everything begins out of love. It's a popular, means in a universal vada. It's a popular vada. Therefore, dismissing the Shunyavada amounts to the dismissal of popular vada. Lokavada. That is called Lokavada. It's a Laukikavada. So, are you able to follow? Haji, Lokavada. And another popular vada is awareness is temporary. People accept awareness, but it is temporary. As long as I am in good health, there is awareness. As long as the eyes are there, I am aware the eyes are gone, I am gone. So awareness is accepted. That's why you can talk to anybody, with awareness. See, there is awareness. He says, wo to hai. It's so easy to begin Vedanta with awareness. Because everybody says, yes, there is awareness. But what is the view about that awareness? Everybody says, I am aware. He says, I am aware as long as I don't fall asleep or I don't die. That means awareness is accepted, but as temporary. That is called kshanikam. Hey, it is there. I am just adding this. It is there for the whole life. Why do they say kshanikam? Life also is kshanikam anyway. Kya badi baat hai. But life is long. It is momentarily long. Or it is a longer moment. Life is a longer moment. So it is important. So when you refute the kshanika vijnanavadi, you refute the popular view that awareness is, but it is temporary. By refuting the Shunyavadi, you also refute the popular view, the Lokavada, that ultimately it is. Therefore, Kshanika Vijnanavadi is the younger brother of Shunyavadi, Buddhists. Shunyavadi is the older brother. Kshanika Vijnanavadi is a younger brother. Why? Because the younger brother boils down to older brother. Shunyavadi doesn't say ultimately everything is momentary. He says no. Kshanika Vijnanavadi says everything is momentary, but meaning what? Tatparya means Shunyavada. Yes, Shunyavadis. And they don't fight, very cordial. Because an affinity hai na. Thus, these are the few things you need to remember. And I'll tell you how insignificant, how unimportant it is to think of everything else. Mimamsaka, Shunyavada, Kshanika Vijnanavada and Vedanta. For example, Vaiseshikas and Nayayikas, these logicians, they say Atma is a dravyam. Atma is something, is a dravyam. Thoughts are all its attributes. Self is material. Conscious material. It is something different, It's like, sound is one physical thing. Form is another physical thing. Even consciousness is dravya. Dravya means some material thing. And thoughts are all its attributes. Is it necessary to refute it? No. It gets refuted when you understand, you refute the Mimamsaka. Why? Because Atma is ever the subject. It can never be dravyam. Dravyam means an object. So in understanding ourselves as purely the subject, solely the subject, never the object, then we don't have to second time refute the Nayayika Vaiseshika because they accept the Atma as Dravyam. But while analyzing the Mimamsaka itself, in the very initial stages of reflection, we understand we are the subject, not the object. We are not the object, then we are not the dravyam. We are not the dravyam, then we can't have any attributes. A material noun can have some attributes, properties. Like the table has certain properties, tree has properties, a flower has properties. Every object has got certain properties. If the subject is not the object, then it doesn't also have properties. It's a simple thing. You don't have to go all out. You don't have to use a nuclear weapon to refute the Nayayika Vaiseshika. Nothing. That's why we don't really analyze much about them. But the real schools that need to be refuted are Mimamsaka, Shunyavada, Kshanika Vijnanavada, these three. Clear? There are, Bhashyakara gives only three definitions, three different opinions about Adhyasa. Let us read. Adhyasevaadi vipratipattayah tam kechidithyadina matavhedanam katanam swaviprayasya sarvatantra siddhantatva avishkaranartham. Up to that. You don't have to worry about every word, because this is huge. It's a running. It's a beautiful, elaborate writing. When you don't know Sanskrit, then you just grasp what is said. Different opinions are given here by Bhashyakara to ultimately establish the definition given by Vedanta to be true. We are analyzing the different definitions of Adhyasa. We are analyzing the different definitions of Adhyasa to ultimately establish that Vedanta, what it says, is right, and there is something. The differences can only be marginal, there cannot be central. The differences can only be marginal, differences cannot be central. A person who says life is an adhyasa, Vedanta says dehoham is adhyasa. Karma Mimamsaka says dehoham is not adhyasa. And the one who says it is not adhyasa must be looked at. Because there is a central difference. Are you able to follow? There is a central difference. The one who says there is difference and the one who says there is no difference, between them there is a central difference, fundamental. It's a very serious thing. It is necessary to refute. And different people say different. If you accept it adhyasa, and then you give your own definition of adhyasa, it doesn't matter as long as you are accepting adhyasa pass. As long as you are accepting adhyasa, what is your definition of this? But there are certain subtle nuances. I will try to explain. It is not easy because you have to be bright for that. You have to be alert for that, to get those nuances. Otherwise you will all go like that. Some go to the right and some go to the left. Some go behind and some go forward. It's not easy. I'm not underestimating anybody. You're all highly educated and wonderful, but you need that kind of I'll point out, not to worry, because that's going to be my ananda. Yes. I don't want to come here just to repeat some things and then go away. Amara Anandam will be only that. Just pointing out the real things. So the first two lines mean Bhashyakara refers to a couple of definitions of adhyasa here only to show that there is no central difference between one definition and another definition, even though there are some marginal differences. And thus establish Vedanta, which says, whatever be your definition of adhyasa, ultimately all the people who even differ from one another in the definition of adhyasa have to accept something, one common point, that is, something looks different. Bas. From what it is. Something looks different from what it is. Either you say it looks different or you say it is taken different, it doesn't matter. Whether you say the noun looks as a different noun or a noun looks to have a different adjective, it doesn't matter. But something is taken differently. Bas, itna everybody has to agree. Tam kechit anyatra anya dharmadhyasaha iti vadanti adhikaranam anyat. Now this dharmastu anyasya iti, this is a nuance. One person says, yes sir, when you look at the rope and miss the rope, you see it for snake. You are not seeing a rope as snake. You are seeing the rope with a different quality. You are not imposing snake in the rope. You are imposing the snake's quality in the rope. What a great. Does anybody say, I am seeing the snake quality there? What is the anubhava? I am seeing a snake there. You don't say, I am seeing a snake nest there. I am not saying, nobody says, I am seeing the snake quality there. What is that? Yes, I am seeing the snake, the noun. I am seeing the snake, the noun. Not the quality. But in retrospect, these jokers, instead of referring to their anubhava, they become very subjective. You see, you have to be different from others, to become a philosopher. Because you have to survive on some distinct image about yourself. That's why, in fact, most of the scholars are they compulsively differ from one another. Okay? They compulsively differ from one another. Because it's very necessary for them to survive. Otherwise, how do you just really, suppose there is a conference, everybody would like to say something different. If it is something meaningful, then it is something great. But sometimes you just say something just to create some distinct image. Otherwise, we will be here. They are all compulsive differers in opinion. Scholars are compulsive differers in their opinion. Therefore, here, Vyakhakara says, they say, you don't mistake, you don't impose the snake on the rope, you impose snake quality on the rope. It is some people say. Tayoho dharminoho midaha sambandha bhavepi sambandha kalpana madhyasaha iti te vadanti. They say, even though there is no connection between the rope and snake quality, but yet you see the connection. They say this connection is adhyasa, which is very wrong. You don't say, I am seeing the connection between the snake and the rope. I am seeing the snake quality as connected to the rope. Does anybody say that? Hey Rama, I am seeing the snake quality connected to the rope. Nobody says that. But yet these people who give the definition, they say, sir, you don't impose the snake on the rope, but you impose snake quality on the rope. That means you impose the connection between snake. If you are really imposing the connection, then you have to say, I am seeing the connection. That is not there. I am seeing the connection between the snake quality and the rope. Yatha sphatike japa kusumadi lauhityasya sambandha kalpanam. I mean, like supposing there is a crystal, sir, and there is a japa kusuma close by, and the japa kusuma throws its color on this spatika. And now, actually, for our own understanding, as a Vedanti, what we understand is, I am seeing a colored crystal. Bas. The colorless crystal, I am seeing it as colored crystal. That means I am seeing one noun as a different noun. As a Vedantis, we can say, we can understand, supposing there is a crystal and there is a flower, what is the adhyasa here? The colorless crystal looks colored. Bas. Nobody says that I am seeing a connection between the colorless crystal and the color of a flower. Does anybody say that? My connection dekh raha hu. किसमें the colorless crystal में है. There is no color. In fact, if you know that the crystal is colorless, and even after that, even if you see the color, you still say there is no connection at all. It only looks. Before you understand, you say it is colored crystal. After knowing, supposing you remove the japa kusuma little away, and then you see it is a colorless crystal, and again bring the flower close, and again the crystal looks colored, you will say it is not colored, it only looks colored. There is no adhyasa. But in the first place, when there is adhyasa, how does one say it is colored crystal? But what do these people say? No, you are not imposing any colored crystal, colorless crystal. You are seeing a connection between the color and the colorless crystal. This language also is very difficult. So messy. I am seeing the connection. I am imposing the connection between the color and the colorless crystal. Spadigasya hi swachha dravyatvat tatra sannidhimatrena sankrantam japa kusumadi lauhityam spadiga dharmaha ityeva grinhanti kechid avivekinaha. Very, very beautiful way. According to their definition, the avivekis think that this spatika has the quality of a flower. ऐसा कुछ नहीं जी. Actually, what man says, actually it was the colorless crystal. When I don't know that it is colorless, I take it for the colored. Bas. Very simple language ji. The colorless is mistaken for the colored. That language must come right clearly. You don't mistake the colorless crystal for a color. You mistake the colorless crystal for the colored crystal. You don't mistake the colorless crystal for the connection with the color. It's too messy. And therefore, what is seen is the colorless crystal is seen as the colored crystal. In fact, nobody sees a non-existent connection between the colorless sky and the blueness. Does anybody use all that language? I am seeing a connection between sky and the blueness. I say, no, I see a blue sky. The colorless sky is seen blue sky. Noun is seen as noun, ji. One reality is seen for something else. That is why when man says, I am limited, it doesn't mean I the unlimited. I am seeing I the unlimited to have a connection with the limitation. Yeah, I am limited. The unlimited me is seen as limited me. The unlimited me is seen as limited me. Therefore, the confusion is not between noun and adjective. The confusion is between noun and noun. Something is seen as something else. Rope is seen as snake. The colorless crystal is seen as colored. Iti vadanti tadevam anya dharmasya anyasmin kalpanam adhyasa iti teshamiti abhiprayah atra dharmagrahanam upalakshanartham dharminopi shuktirajitadi kalpanasyapi adhyasatve nishtatvat athva anyasmin anyasya dharmasya arthantarasya kalpanam ityevam vyakheyam bhashyam. Up to that, it all means it's a repetition. So they always say a noun is mistaken to have a quality which doesn't belong to it. That is how they say. I'm just putting it very precisely. According to Vedanta, one noun is mistaken for another noun. A fact is mistaken for something else. They define, no, a fact is mistaken to have a quality that doesn't belong to it. Koi baat nahi ji, we have no fight. As long as you think there is a mistake, you are accepting it. अगर कोई चोरी किया, as long as he says yes, मैंने चोरी किया, कैसे किया है? The methodology, if there is a difference of opinion between him and what we say, who cares? As long as he is accepting the choice. That's all. That is why Bhashyakara bulldozes. Whatever may be there, because he doesn't interest. These things don't interest him. Useless. Because such great scholars make such silly mistakes. Because why don't you fall in line with your anubhava? You don't say, I am seeing the snake quality in the rope. You see? You don't feel that I am seeing a limitation in the unlimited me. I am seeing a limitation in me, the unlimited. ऐसा थोड़ी तो बोलता है. Say, I am limited, boss. I am limited and I am seeing also myself limited. There ends the matter. Nobody says I am seeing a rope with snake quality. Everybody says I am only seeing snake. Nobody says I am seeing a rope with snake quality, I am seeing snake. Nobody says I am seeing a colorless crystal with the quality of a flower. He says I am seeing a colored crystal. Okay ji, I have explained. These nuances, if they can help you, you can use them. If they are messy, you can leave them. But one thing you have to remember, what actually Vedanta says is, it is never said a noun is seen to have the qualities which it doesn't have. That is not adhyasa. That is not the Vedantic definition of adhyasa. Vedantic definition of adhyasa is, we see something for what it is not. It's not that we see something to have qualities which it doesn't have. The error is not about the attributes. The error is about the very fundamental identity. The error is not about mere attributes. The very fundamental identity. This is, snake, is an error about fundamental identity of the thing. I don't see it as rope, I see it for snake. Similarly, I am Deha is an adhyasa about the fundamental identity. My dear sir, if the error were about a mere quality, it won't torment you so much. I am unlimited, but I have in the corner of me there is a limitation वगैरह, ऐसा थोड़ी होता है. It is a problem of identity. You see Devadatta as Somadatta, it is an error about identity. The identity of the reality. Clear? Then comes another. K2 S9 P18 The description of this definition I'll give you. Later on I'll sum it up. I know you may resist all the nuances, but I will go on pushing them. Yes. I have clarified one point. There is no adhyasa doesn't mean mistaking a noun to have the qualities which it doesn't have. That's not adhyasa. Adhyasa means mistaking one noun for another noun, meaning mistaking a fact for what it is not. Adhyasa doesn't mean, mistaking one noun to have qualities which it doesn't have. ऐसा नहीं है. I am Brahman with the quality of limitation. Does anybody say that? I am the formless being with the quality of being a form. Does anybody think like that? Unless he's got a problem. Supposing he has heard like that somewhere and he comes and repeats it. He is only repeating what he has heard. That is not adhyasa. Sometimes we go on hearing Vedanta and we keep on. Some people say something about Vedanta, funny things also. I am telling you, there are more funny things said about Vedanta than funny things said about anything else in this world. I am telling you. Are you going to follow? There are more funny things said about the truth than funny things said about anything else in this world. And therefore, even if somebody says some funny things about you, anyway, you are not excelling the truth. People are talking funny things about you much less than what the funny things that people talk about the truth. You are still short of Ishvara anyway. Because Ishvara, he stands out. Therefore, supposing you hear some funny things about Vedanta here and there, they keep on repeating. That means what? You are not looking at what you actually think about yourself. You are only repeating what somebody else has said. It's like saying, truth is not here, Bhagavan Krishna is not here, Bhagavan Krishna is staying somewhere in Goloka. This is Bhuloka and he is living in Goloka. Suppose you hear it a few times, then you say, yes, it will. We keep repeating what we hear. We don't look at what we experience. That's called a brainwash. A brainwash is that which prevents you from looking at what is evident. I am telling you. Supposing even myself, I go on telling, there is no error about the noun as for another noun. If I go on repeating that you are only seeing the rope to have the quality of the snake, not rope for snake, then you always nod your head and then you keep repeating the same thing. Yeah, but there it comes. You have to see also independently. You have to be an independent reflector. Be an independent thinker to understand the truth through Vedanta. The independent thinker does not mean you bypass Vedanta. Independent thinker means be a correct thinker to understand the truth well through Vedanta, and you look at your own anubhava. The anubhava here is, I never say I am seeing the snake quality in the rope. I am only saying this is snake. This particular second definition is given. It can include all these Nayayika with various people, kinds of Adhyana. Kshanika Vijnanavadis, etc., etc. How do they define? They say, you have the knowledge of the rope, you have the knowledge of the snake, and there is a confusion between the knowledge of the rope and knowledge of the snake. So instead of seeing the knowledge of the rope, you see the knowledge of your Rama. ये सारी problems होता है, we'll see it up later on. But then don't resist going into these beautiful details. करना क्या है जी? You're a student of truth. What is the rest of it is nothing. Just manage to survive. Don't try to bring about perfection in your survival. वो तो कभी नहीं होगा. Perfection in survival is not possible. You can't bring about perfection in your limping. Man is surviving only limpingly. Perfection क्या है? Manage to look after yourself and concentrate on Shastra. Om Purnamadaha Purnamida Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Thank you. Hari Om Ji, Hari Om Ji. Hari Om Ji, Hari Om Ji, Hari Om Ji. Please come. आप आइए.